outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and with me today is a leader in our community who is helping to make Memphis even better, and that is the Honorable Mike Keeney, who is, among other things, chairman of the Memphis Shelby County Airport Authority. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on today.
Well, my pleasure. The airport is so important to the city and to our region. Can you talk about that a little bit? What makes our airport, other than it's the home of FedEx, which is a little company here in Memphis, so important to our community?
Well, Alan, first, thanks. And I always enjoy being anywhere and being able to talk about the benefits of the airport. Just as a general economic engine, we really are, in many, many cases, we're the first handshake that the city has for visitors or people that are here or people that are coming to do business. And it's critical in that arena in and of itself. Secondly, we have our own police force, fire department, leadership team. I mean, it employs so many people. And what I like to say is that it's a part of every bit of the economic development piece that the city has. Whenever companies consider relocating to a place, one of the things they need to make sure of is that they're able to get here and get out to the places where they need to get out. So we really are important on so many levels. And it's that's what I am. I enjoy working with other arenas in the city to kind of help that.
One of the special challenges that our airport faces, they're happy challenges with a company like FedEx moving so many airplanes and freight through that airport. Well,
for one thing, we're on a worldwide basis, we're the busiest cargo airport in the world. We go back and forth with Hong Kong occasionally, and maybe they're number one and we're 1A, or we'll be one and they'll be 1A. But it's an unbelievable important for us, important economic aspect for us. And what the benefits of having FedEx based here obviously are not just jobs and being able to create a lot of activity, but just the runways. We have the nicest runways, in the world, because I'm going to tell you that if FedEx doesn't get in and out, then nobody gets in and out. And so that's a real benefit. It's really a selling point for us on when we try and get more airlines and more destinations to Memphis. I mean, it's just critical. As we like to say, those purple tails in the air, they mean a lot more, not just at the airport, but to the whole community.
Well, that's true. And, that's something you just taught me something. You taught me stuff. You teach me stuff every day, Mike. But I hadn't really thought about that. The infrastructure at the airport that's built for the cargo, that spills over and helps with the passenger airline.
And I'll tell you the other thing we're about to open up. It's under construction. It's sort of on the final. I'm assuming we want to talk about the new terminal or the new Concourse B in a minute. But one project that is maybe more exciting than that in aviation circles is we're about to open the largest de-icing facility in the country. And so when we open up the de-icing facility, this allows 12 big planes to be de-iced at the same time. And if anybody has been involved with weather when you're flying especially in the north or northeast, and they come out with a de-icer and they come and spray the de-icing stuff on your plane. This is actually going to be a drive-through de-icer that obviously it's geared towards FedEx, but the commercial airlines will be able to use it as well. And that from a, like I said, from an aviation standpoint, the customer may not see it, but they're going to benefit from it.
Hopefully that will reduce delays during cold weather, right?
Now, that's exactly right. Now we're in Memphis, and so that doesn't happen a lot. But if you get 2 days of ice, that's a big deal for a company like FedEx, obviously.
Sure. Well, before we get to the concourse, which is kind of the big thing right now, if you haven't flown through our airport in the last few months, the next time you go, you're going to be really thrilled, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I think when you talk about Memphis Airport, I think the biggest elephant in the room, and I know you've been dealing with this, is the fact that we used to be a hub and now we're not a hub. And talk a little bit about and I'm not being critical of Delta or anyone else. They did what they had to do, but it certainly put us in a different situation. How did the airport deal with that transition, and what are we looking to build in the future?
And that's been the challenge that we've had since 2013, 2014. We were obviously, everybody remembers when we were a Northwest hub, and we had more flights, more nonstops than anybody now. And then when Northwest went into bankruptcy, Delta goes into bankruptcy, and during the bankruptcy court, they consolidated or merged. And when they came out Delta, we had hopes that we were going to continue to be that hub with all of the flights. And one time I think they said we had 4 or 5 nonstops to Moline, Illinois, and that's great for people who need to go to different places. However, most of those flyers that were traveling through the airport really weren't from Memphis. They weren't Memphians. You had to come through in order to connect and do all that. And so I frankly think, in hindsight, looking at Atlanta's operations in Atlanta, it probably didn't make sense for them to have duplicative operations in Atlanta and in Memphis, at least from their perspective. So after the dehubbing, which was it was tough. Definitely very difficult for the community to understand, difficult for the airport to have to really make a real move. So we've become what is an origination and destination airport, meaning that most of the traffic now, whereas before, it was a low percentage of Memphians of the total enplanements of the total planes that were going in and out of Memphis were Memphians. Now it's almost 100%. And so we almost had to build it somewhat from scratch. And so now that's when you see, Southwest coming in and having a bigger presence. We've had Spirit Airlines that come in, Allegiant Airlines that come in. That's going to be, we will still get the nonstops with the big boys, the Deltas and the Americans. In fact, I just flew this weekend our nonstop to Boston on American. Delta's starting a nonstop to Boston in the fall. We'll continue to do that where the community allows, but we'll probably see more and more flights to Atlanta, to Chicago, to a lot of the hubs that then allow the Memphians to kind of go where they need to go. And that's just a basis of consolidation in the airline industry. And so it's still going to be a challenge, and we need more nonstop flights. There's no question about it. And that's what we're trying to continue to go out there, or the team is trying to go out and deliver.
What's the selling point to an airline to open a nonstop? I know one of it is how many passengers originating from Memphis are going to those places now. What are the other kinds of things that you need to be able to show to attract a nonstop from, say, here to, Phoenix or Orlando or someplace where people want to go?
I mean, that's really it, Alan, is making sure that we've got they're all about filling planes, right? And so, I mean, I've always thought that we do a good job. The airport does a good job. I'll tell you one thing that's so popular. I know a lot of people when it was built weren't wild about it, but that parking garage that is out there, it is always full. It's cheap parking. And it allows us to sort of see who's coming to the airport in order to fly out. And we're really more of a regional player. I mean, we draw from Mississippi, Arkansas, obviously a lot of West Tennessee, and we're the region's airport. And so, to the extent that, again, this goes back to the economic development piece that we should be involved with. If there's a company coming to town, well, for instance, the nonstop to Boston, Indigo Ag has a large operations in Boston, and being able to use them to help us convince American and Delta that, look, we get so many passengers that are trying to go to Boston every day. And so if we're able to show that, then that's what's really going to most impress the airlines, and it's going to allow them to consider adding a nonstop. And that's really the main thing that we have to do. We've got to be able to tell our story. And it's another thing, that's another piece that it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg. If we had more economic development and more headquarters relocating to Memphis, obviously that would help being able to show how many more nonstops we will need as a community.
Right. Now let's talk about the new jewel in the crown, which is the new concourse. I've flown a couple of times, and it is state of the art. It is gorgeous, and I'd stack it up against any terminal I've been anywhere in the world. Tell us how that came about, and tell folks what they can expect to see when they go out there.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it was obviously it's not one person, and it certainly isn't the board. It's a great team that's out at the airport, and so it was a vision that began, in 2015. That several things were happening. Number one, for people who have been out to the airport, we had 3 terminals, A, B, and C. And when we became more of an origination and destination airport, we frankly really didn't need all of that space that was out there. Everybody likes to talk about going out there, and there were so many gates that were shut down, and there were 83 gates or so when we had 3 different concourses. And so it really made more sense to consolidate. Plus, we were an old airport. I mean, we were really an old airport, and we needed the technology upgrades, and it was more out of necessity that we needed to figure out how that was going to happen. So the planning and development team, and I'm going to give total kudos for several things. Number one, the airport team, the development team that sort of put this project together. We had a lot of input from the community, a lot of input from the board. I became chairman of the airport authority in January. Pace Cooper was the chairman for 7 years before that. And I got to give a shout out and credit to Pace, because he really stayed on top of this development project. It was sort of his baby, and or to oversee. And so we wanted to make sure that, number one, we wanted to consolidate so that we would be able to have all the passengers in one place, yet we needed to make sure that we were going to be able to grow to the future. We really believe in Memphis, and we believe that there's a lot of growth opportunities. And so you sure don't want to build a concourse that's going to just, at capacity. You want to be able to build for growth. So what people are going to see when they go out there is a lot of technology. Every chair has wireless charging stations for their phones, a lot of open air, not a lot of closed doors. They're going to have the gating system. For instance, when we were at the old terminal, you would have, American would be these certain gates, Delta would be these certain gates, Southwest would be these certain gates. You can go and you may be taking an American airline or a route, and you'd be flying out of gate 3, let's say. Well, that can be a Delta gate just as easy as it can be an American gate now. And so that allows us to provide the growth that while we have 23 gates, we've really got enough capacity built in to be able to handle so much more than what we've got right now. And I think what they're also going to see, there's a real local flavor. There's a Grizzlies presence. We really were adamant that we wanted to make sure that when people came here, they really are going to see Memphis, and they're going to be introduced to, whether it's the music that's going to be playing, the Memphis music that's going to be there in the concourse, or and you'll the other thing you're going to note is lots of glass, wide, bright. It's high ceilings, and it's just really it's a much better experience than what we've ever had before.
Yes, if you're coming to the airport and you're expecting to see just a new coat of paint on what was there before, you're going to be shocked, because you guys just tore it all down to the stuff. I mean, is there really anything left of the old B concourse on that footprint?
Not really. There's some underneath where you'll see, or you won't see it, but there is some of the underneath where the operations facilities for the airlines are still there. We built on that, but it's all been seismically upgraded, widened, like I said, higher ceilings. I mean, it's basically it's a new concourse, no question about it.
If somebody's coming to Memphis to decide whether or not to relocate their worldwide headquarters to Memphis, and they land at that airport, that's such a great first impression for those kind of folks. And for anybody coming to Memphis, it really does set the stage for what they're going to see on the streets of Memphis, I think.
I think so too. And I think it really gives, it's like I said, it's a great vibe that it gives off. And as a city, that's sort of what we have to sell is our vibe. And I think I'm really proud of the team and what they've delivered. There's no doubt. Scott Brockman runs the show out there, and he does a good job along with the whole team. So it's, as you know, the airport authority, we're political appointees. And so it's our job to oversee, and it's much more important for the people who understand airports and know how to do the building, that they're out there, and we've got a good team to put that together.
Tell me about the efforts the airport authority has made for MWBE spending, that's minority and women enterprise. I know that's something y'all are proud of. What have y'all been doing out there in this project and other projects?
Sure, it's critical, and we're a big believer in that program. And at the end of the day, if that's what's important to you, and I think both of us are friends with our Mayor Strickland, and he's a big believer in, if you believe in a program, you're gonna dedicate resources to it, and you're gonna measure it. And so the airport, just like that, we've got a department that is dedicated to MWBE, and we measure it. We measure it intentionally. We also try, and if there's a minority subcontractor on a job, what we've got people at the airport that can hopefully do some training and make and guide them, or help guide them to then becoming a prime, as opposed to just being a subcontractor. And that's how you build, a really good economic engine in the city. And you're able to get some, fantastic workers and great businesses. And at the end of the day, we're all responsible for making sure that the MWBE program is successful.
Well, and y'all done a great job. And I'm so bullish on the future of Memphis, but particularly our airport. So, and I also heard, I think I read somewhere that even though that concourse has fewer gates, and you may have already spoken to this, the reason for it, it can handle more planes than the old airport. Is that
yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's because of the electronics, because of the technology, and you can. There we go. Sorry, I had a little lighting
technology problem.
Technology problem, and
20th century technology.
When they are so because you don't have dedicated gates to the airlines, that really allows us to be able to utilize. Whereas before, if you had planes coming in, and you had an extra Delta gate, an extra plane or something like that, they weren't able to get into the concourse. And so with the technology as it is, and these gates can be any airline, it's really beneficial.
All right. Well, Mike, I really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your service to the city at the airport, because as we've discussed, it's so important for not just Federal Express, but for all of us to be able to have a thriving airport, to be able to move, as one of the airlines say, to really move about the country.
That's right.
So again, thank you. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it or email it to someone you think may be interested in it. Please email me at acrone@cronelawfirmplc.com. You see that on your screen there. If you have any questions, like us on Facebook, etc. All that social media stuff's important. We love hearing from you. So Mike is going to go land some planes at the Memphis International Airport, and I'm going to go get some justice.
Alan, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much.